Issues related to Ihsar. 103. In the dictionary, Ihsar means to prevent someone from reaching their desired destination and to imprison them. In religious terminology, IT refers to the prevention of a person who has entered IHRAM for Hajj from performing the visitation, TAWAF at Arafat during the standing WAQF, and the prevention of a person who has entered IHRAM for UMRAH from performing the TAWAF. A person prevented in this manner is called a MUHSAR. If the husband or a male relative of a woman on the pilgrimage journey dies, she is considered a MUHSAR. 104 Ihsar is considered a kind of compulsory sacrifice. For this reason, a sacrifice must be made, and the person must exit IHRAM in this manner. This sacrifice is called IHSAR DEMI. Example, if a person who has entered IHRAM is unable to perform the Hajj due to illness, an enemy, or the depletion of funds, they must send a sheep or the equivalent in money to Mecca to be slaughtered within the Haram area. They are considered to have exited IHRAM as soon as the sheep is slaughtered. 105 according to Imam AZAM and Imam Muhammad. To terminate IHRAM due to Ihsar, it is sufficient to simply sacrifice the animal. Furthermore, it is not necessary to shave or trim one's hair. According to Imam Abu Yusuf and Imam SHAFI'I, shaving or trimming one's hair is also required. These are part of the rituals of Hajj. According to one opinion, it is also necessary to shave one's head or cut one's hair to exit IHRAM due to an incident that occurs within the Haram area. Our Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, did so at HUDAYBIYAH. 106. According to Imam AZAM, it is not a requirement that the sacrifice intended for a person under siege be performed during the designated days of sacrifice. It may also be performed before or after those days. 107. Even if a MUHSAR is poor, he cannot exit IHRAM unless he sacrifices the animal. According to one opinion of Imam SHAFI'I, a poor person in a state of MUHSAR may fast for 10 days in lieu of the sacrifice. Also, according to Imam SHAFI'I, the sacrifice for a person in a puri state of MUHSAR may be performed at the place where the state of MUHSAR occurred. 108. If a person enters IHRAM with the intention of performing the Qiran Hajj but is subsequently prevented from completing the Hajj, becomes MUHSAR, they must send 2 sacrificial animals to be slaughtered within the Haram area. One of these is for the obligatory Hajj, and the other is for the UMRAH. One does not exit IHRAM until these 2 sacrifices have been performed. 109. If a pilgrim in IHRAM who is prevented from performing Hajj or UMRAH is able to perform Hajj or UMRAH during the same season after exiting IHRAM through the sacrifice he sent, he must perform Hajj or UMRAH as a substitute for the Hajj or UMRAH he was prevented from performing. He will not be considered to have exited IHRAM until he performs one of these. This is because such a muhrim is considered to be like someone who has missed a Hajj or UMRAH that he had already begun. 110. Person who has made the intention to perform the Qiran Hajj but was prevented from performing both Hajj and UMRAH sends a sacrificial animal to be slaughtered in the Haram area and then exits IHRAM. If the obstacles are removed and they are able to go to the Haram to perform their UMRAH and Hajj, they are required to perform 1 Hajj and 2 UMRAHs. Of these, 1 Hajj and 1 UMRAH are required as make-up obligations. This is because they became obligatory upon him upon entering IHRAM. Another UMRAH is required because one has exited the IHRAM. Associated with these, this obligatory Hajj and the 2 UMRAH, pilgrimages may be performed at different times. 111. If a person who has entered IHRAM solely for UMRAH is prevented from performing the essential rituals of UMRAH TAWAF and Saydate, must send a sacrificial animal to the Haram area to exit IHRAM, and they will make up this UMRAH later when they are able. We call this UMRAH, Umrat al-Qaza. According to Imam Malik, a person performing UMRAH does not exit IHRAM by sacrificing an animal due to Ihsar. because the time for Umrah is not limited to specific days, and there is no fear of missing it. 112. If a person in IHRAM is prevented from performing Hajj and sends a sacrificial animal, but then becomes able to perform Hajj after the obstacle is removed, they immediately begin performing their Hajj because they have now found a way to perform the original obligation. In this case, if they reach THEI, our sacrificial animal, before IT has been slaughtered, they take possession of IT and may use it as they wish because he is nitrogen monoxide, longer obligated to sacrifice IT. 113. If a person, after standing at Arafat on the day of Arafah, performing the WAQF, is prevented from performing the visitation TAWAF or other Hajj rituals, this does not invalidate his Hajj because they still have the opportunity to complete their Hajj, and there is no fear of missing IT. Visitation TAWAF can be performed at any time. Conversely, a person who performed the standing at Arafat but was prevented from completing the Hajj, yet managed to perform only the visitation TAWAF, is also not considered to be in a state of MUHSAR, because a person who misses the Hajj is considered to have exited IHRAM. Through the TAWAF, no sacrifice is required due to being in a state of IHRAM. They must make up for the Hajj they miss. 114. Anyone who enters IHRAM with the intention of performing the obligatory Hajj, the Hajj they have vowed to perform, or a voluntary Hajj from the Miqat, and who does not remain at Arafat even for a single moment from afternoon on the day of Arafah until the dawn of the day of Eid, and does not perform the standing at Arafat, the Hajj is considered invalid. They must now perform Umrah to exit Ihram and make up for this Hajj the following year. No separate Ihram is required for this Umrah. The Ihram from the missed Hajj is sufficient for it as well. Upon beginning this Umrah, they cease the Talbiyah. If this person had intended to perform the Qiran Hajj, they must perform Umrah twice. With this, they perform Tawaf twice and perform Sa'i between Safa and Marwa twice. The first of these acts serves as an Umrah in lieu of the Hajj for which the intention was made. The second is to exit the Ihram of the Hajj. Upon beginning this second Umrah and greeting the black stone, Hajar al-Aswad, they cease the Talbiyah. 115. If a person who has entered Ihram as a proxy, naib, is prevented from performing Hajj, the Emir is required to pay the cost of the sacrifice that was to be sent to the Haram. This is because the naib undertook this task on behalf of the Emir. To avoid this, they need their principal's assistance. In this case, the proxy is not required to reimburse the expenses incurred from their principal's property. This is because IT is an unforeseen circumstance, not an act performed at the proxy's own will. However, if a naib commits one of the prohibited acts of Hajj of his own free will, the cost of the required sacrifice falls upon him. This is because he committed that prohibited act of his own free will.